Lying, they are convoluting things for their own sinister, evil plots. Remember.
Excuse me, sir. You want to talk about mental anguish? Let's talk about the cop that y'all beat the hell out of on January 6th. You want to talk about mental anguish? Let's talk about the kids who work in Washington, who are all over the Capitol, who you scared because you allowed all those crazy people to be outside screaming.
She's talking about the officers that were, what'd she say, was beat or whatever.
Yeah,
so, hold up, five people, and this was from the New York Times, right? 5 people died during or surrounding the events of the January 6th. It was not an insurrection. I'll say riot. Ashley Babbitt, Kevin Green, Roseanne Boylan, Benjamin Phillips, and then I think that Mr. Greason. Now, the cops, surprisingly, if not, they committed suicide, not necessarily on January the 6th. We know Ashley Babbitt was the only one who was shot by a police officer. Have you seen the left up in arms about that? No. And poor Officer Sitnick, it was proven that he was not beaten with a fire extinguisher. He died, I don't know how long later, but he died of natural causes, if I'm not mistaken, that the autopsy is coded as. So again, they are lying. They are convoluting things for their own sinister, evil plots. Remember, they will purport to be doing something good, but they are always destroying. They're lying. Whoopi is still full of it. Well, she's full of it, and she's just making up stuff as she goes along.
Yeah, I was surprised she said that. She made up the whole thing. No one died by the riots on that day.
It's really infuriating because I was in D.C. I was there that day. And I did not do anything illegal. Majority of people did not do anything illegal.
Right.
There was no vandalizing. In fact, if someone saw anyone vandalize, they would stop that person. I have seen that with my own eyes. So she is lying completely. And about like Shelley said, the officer was not beaten. It was proven. In fact, all of those people who came out, they were very pro-police.
Right.
They were that was the whole movement. That was part of the movement. So these lies are just blatant lies. And the kids, what is she talking about?
Yeah, I don't know what she's talking about the kids. She said a bunch of kids that I guess go to school in Washington, D.C. were now afraid due to this January 6th riot. What are your thoughts here, Avniel? I mean, you heard what she said. Can you agree that nobody died due to the riot that day?
I didn't know we were discussing January 6th, but let's go. It's, The View, they sensationalize things a little bit. The kids being scared, that's just silly. Kids aren't scared to go to school because of January 6th.
Not because of January 6th, but they
for
should be.
mass shootings,
Schools were closed at that time.
But the one thing that I find, and I find this on the left and the right, is people in this day and age, in our hyper-partisan environment in the U.S., people are so hypocritical. I've seen on both the left and the right, they will not call out their own side.
Right.
And this is one of the things that the right is the most hypocritical on.
No.
There was, hold on, let me speak.
Tell us.
Let me speak. Let me just hear me out. Like you said, the right is, Yana said, the right is typically pro-police. And the fact that now that the right is trying to whitewash what happened on January 6th, I've seen videos, I post them to my Facebook group, my political group, all about DMV politics.
You post the ones that confirm your own beliefs.
Now what Yana said that the majority, I actually try to be relatively unbiased about things, even though I'm on the left, I call out the far left on certain things as well.
Okay.
What Yana said is true, that the majority of Trump supporters there were peaceful.
Okay.
Number one, that is true. Okay. It's only a few thousand we're talking about of over 100,000 people that were not. So
over
at some so Tucker shows like, at some entrances, Tucker Carlson showed on the show, oh, police let people in. At some entrances that did happen because the police gave up. But then there are, so I take the whole thing and said, not everyone was violent. Police did let some people in, but there's videos and evidence that's unrefutable that police getting crushed in the door, police getting pushed back on their shields, hit with flagpoles. There was violence against police that day. Officer Sidwick died of a heart attack the next day from the trauma and the stress on his heart.
Oh, we don't know that.
Put that on. You can't put that on.
Stress cortisol is poison to the heart.
But that's part of the
Excuse
job.
And then-
me,
and
I
then
work at a
three-
school and I get stressed every day because
But-
of little children.
but aren't you
Should
also-
I blame the little children
Okay.
if I get sick?
But that's part of the job.
It's part of the job.
It's true.
But he died of a heart attack, and it was coded as natural causes.
8 hours later.
Yes, coded as natural cause. The stress does crazy things to the
You're
heart.
supposed to
3
have
police officers killed themselves.
Yeah. Go
All right,
ahead.
that's ridiculous. So the fact that the police in America cannot handle stress, that says a lot about the state of this country. So you
Well, I
better
would
be
agree
able
with
to
that. I would
handle
agree with
stress if you want to survive as a country. And if you're gonna feel sorry, that someone, or I don't know, if you're gonna blame the job of the police, then I mean, what is the point of having the police? I mean, the police is there to deal with stressful situations.
Right, that's true.
And I do not, I mean, I'm sorry that if anyone did hurt the police that
Right, they
day,
were wrong.
absolutely I don't agree with that.
Thank
that is,
you.
that
I
is,
applaud you for saying
that was
We-
wrong.
That's
I
all I
said
want.
that.
Absolutely.
Each side, I want each side to call it bad.
However,
behavior.
you mentioned some numbers. How many people were violent?
I mean, I'm talking, when I said a few thousand, I'm including the people, not all of them were violent. Those are about the people who went in.
I'm sorry, I
But
was
they're-
there. If there were a few thousand violent people, I would have seen that.
On
They-
average, we're talking about on average.
On average, that's still a very small
I don't
amount.
think about 1,000.
When there's there's over 100,000 people,
Right.
Yana, you
You
can't
on
see
average.
everything. You can't
would
see in the
see
very
1,000
the
people.
very front. It was the people at the very front who rushed into the Capitol, broke windows to get in, and
maybe a
ones
couple
that
hundred.
crushed the police in the
Couple
door.
hundred.
Couple hundred.
Even if it was
Right.
1,000,
Stop.
if they were fighting the police, they were wrong.
Thank you.
That's
We
that's-
said that, but
we said
let me
that.
say
We
this.
said that.
Thank you.
We've said this, but this is the issue here. The conservative media has always pushed back and said that this was wrong. Go home. This was the small amount of people that were there should not have acted outright rioting and damaging property and fighting police should not have done that. But we have never seen the leftist media push back against the BLM riots.
I knew
I want
you
you
to attack police.
I want you to. This is what the media did in response to these BLM riots. Take a look.
Clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking unruly.
That ain't a riot, what we're seeing right now in Minneapolis. They are strictly principled anti-fascists, and they've taken a principled stand to stand against white supremacists and white nationalists wherever they may show up.
I argue to you tonight, all punches are not equal morally.
It says it right in the name, Antifa, anti-fascism, which is what they were there fighting. Listen, there's, no organization is perfect. There was some violence.
Any reasonable person would say we shouldn't be destroying other people's property, but these are not reasonable times.
But thank goodness for the looters, man.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
I don't care that much about statutes.
Shouldn't that be done shouldn't that be done by a commission or the city council, not a mob in the middle of the night throwing it into the harbor?
People will do what they do.
You're seeing behind me is one of multiple locations that have been burning in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Do not get it twisted and think that, this is something that has never happened before, and then this is so terrible, and where are we, and these savages and all of that. This is how this country was started.
People get mad and people get sick of it. People are risking COVID to explain to this country that we're fed up.
Most of the major movements in American history have started at the grassroots level and at some point have turned into direct conflict with American government. So remember your history before you judge your present.
Come on now. Those were mainstream media outlets taking up for the BLM riots. I mean, they caused massive amounts of
damage, and people did die.
People
other
did
than
die,
George Floyd.
right?
You know what Republicans did, including myself, during those BLM riots? We donated to those businesses that were vandalized.
Oh yeah.
They were small businesses, black-owned businesses a lot of times, that were vandalized.
Just like the black people who were killed on the riot, the security
Nothing
officer.
like that happened during January 6th.
And not only that, but those people who did all that damage, most of them got off. That's
what I said.
They paid for them to get out of jail. They didn't do any time.
A lot of the ones who did property damage and were violent towards any cops, they were actually convicted.
No.
I just read this story. I just did this debate in my group. I just did this debate in my group.
They were released. The political campaigns of the left really bailed them out. And not only that, they have the progressive prosecutors in place to go ahead and whitewash their little criminal activities. Come on, Avni.
You can look it up. Look it up right now. I implore you all, go on Google, search convicted sentences from BLM.
And the people who were
riots.
there, who were put in prison after January 6th are still in prison.
Thank you.
They tried to stop the peaceful certification of a presidential election, something that's never happened in the history of our country. It was an attack on our Constitution. I condemn the property destruction and the rioting and the stealing of BLM summer. Anyone who was violent or stole stuff or broke stuff or set police cars on fire, I do condemn.
We cannot disagree with what the government does. If we don't agree, so I thought that was part of the Constitution.
Yes,
if we have a problem.
Peaceful protesting. You can't storm.
Well, then no BLM should still be locked up then.
Not a lot of BLM, like I said, the majority of BLM people who went to BLM protests were peaceful. There were some. See, you all admit this for January 6th.
No,
but you don't admit it.
Yes, I admit the people of January 6th.
We saw that.
There was,
but not the majority. The majority of BLM riots. The majority of them were rioters, trespassers, looters, criminal activity. No. That was the majority versus the minority of
organized. It was organized.
Oh yeah, so was January 6th. It was Stop the Steal rally. No, it was organized.
They were not trained. They have literally BLM actually sent out, and the same thing they're doing with the pro-Palestinian things. They are organizing people, showing them what to do, showing them how to get out of jail if they do stuff.
Of course.
All of this stuff.
And BLM lost its way a little bit and became...
A little bit?
I mean, the organization itself, not the police reform movement.
A little bit.
But because the founders started to enrich themselves with the money.
As always, communists
But any side, you can't go, if you don't agree with an election results, it's contested in court. You don't go break into the Capitol.
Most of them didn't break in.
They that's how our country works. And
you don't. If our country works that way, how come it's never happened before?
They said right there when we just watched.
Oh no!
They said, this is how our country started.
They're whitewashing.
Excuse me. So if we do not agree with this election results, why can't we go and protest?
You can protest. You can't break into the Capitol.
I agree with you.
You can't.
But you said we have to go to court.
Those media personalities who said that.
Oh yeah, they were wrong.
Wait a minute. If using their rationale, then January 6th should not be in jail.
The left media and the right media both does it when it comes to their side. If their side's in trouble.
I've never seen that. I've never seen
I watched Newsmax.
First of all,
they whitewashed January 6th.
The right media. It's not that much right-leaning media or mainstream. I showed CNN. We just showed
MSNBC,
NBC, MSNBC. These are mainstream media outlets just totally whitewashing that whole thing. I mean, nothing like that is
exactly. And
Tucker Carlson is a pundit. People were going to CNN, MSNBC for their mainstream media.
What do you consider Fox?
Right-wing
Fox News.
They condemned.
No, I'm saying Fox.
They condemned January 6th.
Right?
So
they're mainstream.
They're right of center. They're not necessarily conservative. They're
Did
right
you
of
see
center.
the text messages? You talk about Fox. You talk about Fox. Did you see, or they showed the text messages from many Fox pundits telling them about January 6th. This needs to stop. What are they doing? They were coming out against it.
Fox had the right narrative. It's more of the Newsmax and the OANs.
It's a very.
They're like the MSNBC of the right.
Lopsided.
They're like the MSNBC of the right.
We gotta move on. We're supposed to be the reasonable ones. We're supposed to be the balanced one. We're supposed to condemn the violence, but it's okay for them not to condemn the violence.
No, it's not even.
It was wrong for the liberal media not to condemn the violence.